Yorgos Lanthimos is known for building uncomfortable, surreal worlds that are fraught with violence and the absurd. And The Killing of a Sacred Deer is no different. The film is a challenging, disturbing, and quite frankly complex metaphor that examines guilt, fate, hubris, and a slew of other existential themes. The story follows Stephen Murphy, family patriarch and heart surgeon, who has built a relationship with a 16-year-old boy, Martin, after his father's death during surgery. Martin forces Stephen to make an impossible choice to balance his father's death.
Yes, it's exactly what you think. Just like you killed a member of my family, now you gotta kill a member of your family to balance things out, understand?
Martin Scorsese said that cinema is a matter of what's in the frame and what's out. The point being that we only get to experience a slice of the world a film creates. There is what we are shown and what's implied in the subtext, what happens outside of our point of view. There must always be two sides to this coin. In The Killing of a Sacred Deer, we are forced to experience a very peculiar, carefully crafted perspective.
You can see, something from different points of view, almost simultaneously creating a new experience.
Through the language of cinema, Lanthimos builds an otherworldly sense of doubt and tension. The dialogue forbids emotional connections to his characters. In fact, that detachment is forced through his use of negative space and framing. We rarely get to see a reaction to what is being said, as it remains off-screen. In addition to this, the cinematography style is Kubrickian, and highly effective at creating a sense of unease and voyeurism. Let's take a look at The Killing of a Sacred Deer and how Yorgos Lanthimos creates an ethereal atmosphere through the camera. The framing of the movie is the foundation of building voyeurism. Elements are intentionally left at the edge of the foreground to create a frame within a frame, and give us the impression that we are peering in from the outside. Be it curtains, a window frame, or a doorway, it always feels like there is something between our world and theirs. To further the emotional detachment that we have to his characters, Lanthimos uses negative space to put subjects on the edge of the frame. This plays to two effects. The first is to introduce the notion of an invisible presence, perhaps fate itself. It makes us wonder why we are only being shown a piece of what's unfolding. The second is that we are unable to clearly discern the reactions the characters are having to dialogue. When Martin's mother is flirting with Stephen, we don't know if he's receptive to it or cold.
Did you prefer me with brown hair?
When Martin surprises Stephen's family at the hospital, we only see pieces of them and have to assume how they feel. The single focus point in the scene is instead on Bob, who is the most removed character from the conversation. This sense of doubt is reinforced by the heavy usage of reverse angle shots. Typically, these are used during conversations so that we may see the speaker as back and forths occur. However, Lanthimos flips this technique on its head, many times filming the back of characters as they speak, which makes building an emotional rapport with them difficult. We are given the speaker's point of view, rather than the listener's. Similarly, close-ups are used during moments that should be raw and visceral, like Bob bargaining for his life, or Stephen and Anna discussing killing one of their children, but they aren't. This lack of emotion during close-ups adds to Lanthimos' ethereal world-building. We aren't given the social cues we expect, which creates a Dunning-Kruger effect.
He's really funny. I laughed so hard my ribs hurt.
Although familiar, there's something unsettling and alien about what we see. Going back to the notion of an otherworldly presence, the Dolly shot is key in making that come to life, and used almost to the point of exhaustion. Lanthimos says that he wanted the camera to feel like an otherworldly presence, creeping in from above or below. Especially in the presence of one or two subjects, we thus find ourselves slithering or hovering along. Generally, low and high angles play to a power dynamic, but the length of them here makes them feel more sinister. We are unwelcome observers, surveilling our subjects as their story unfolds. In a way, this ties into the greater themes of fate and inevitability. The unraveling of Stephen's family is the one thing that we come to expect. This is cemented by the alternating angles of front and back, suggesting that we are both ahead and behind characters as they move through their stories. They have an illusion of choice, where their only real option is to move forward. Finally, and most importantly, the use of zoom shots becomes borderline oppressive as the film plays out. Lanthimos manages to create discomfort through the steady push and pull of the lens, preparing us for a shock that may or may not come. First, let's talk about the zoom in. Zooming in creates a sense of intrusion and tension, because unlike a dolly shot, it compresses the background and flattens what we see, creating claustrophobia. The emotional effect is that instead of connecting with the subject that we're zooming in on, we feel like outsiders, omnipresent observers. Add to this the foreground framing that we talked about earlier, and you end up with a palpable sense of voyeurism and intrusion. In contrast to this are the zoom out shots. Zooming out allows us to contextualize the subject of a shot. Generally speaking, zooming out would create comfort, as what we are imagining is replaced by what we are shown. It allows pacing in our discovery of a scene, first considering a character's state of mind before the context around them. And this is sometimes the case. For example, Kim's song to Martin is enhanced by our discovery of her environment. Other times, however, Lanthimos subverts our expectations by adding unexpected elements as we zoom out, creating a sense of tension and anticipation as the film progresses. For example, a peaceful slumber becomes a contemplation of murder. We are primed to become distrustful of what we are shown, even before it appears on screen. The tension produced during these zoom-outs is a product of our lack of knowledge on what will come. It's a loss of control. We may be omnipresent watchers, but we aren't omnipotent. And in a way, this loss of control is stated through zoom-outs. In this scene, Stephen finally breaks down and shows an inkling of humanity. He is completely powerless to his fate, which is what makes this zoom so meaningful. It's a gripping juxtaposition of claustrophobia and his fragility. So what does this all mean? Why are we forced to remain detached from what plays out in front of us? Why are we assigned the role of an ethereal watcher? And why are we privy to the surreal eye for an eye balancing that befalls Stephen's family? In a sense, I think Lanthimos wants us to experience fate as something other than human.
You're not a god. You can take my word for it.
The killing of a sacred deer imagines our suffering in the face of destiny's cruel indifference. It's a story that we all know, and for the most part, have experienced at some point or another. But our familiarity with that experience is human. Lanthimos forces us to experience fate from the other side of the coin, as a cosmic observer, indifferent to human suffering. And of course, we aren't able to truly dissociate from it because, despite Lanthimos' best efforts, we are still human. Of course, this is an interpretation of a film that has been intentionally left open-ended. I'm curious to know, what did you think Lanthimos' intent was, if not for a modern retelling of mythology? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please do consider subscribing. Till next time.